Great. Think we're live. Think we're live. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Gonna double check here. Think I got this all together. All right. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good day today. Excited to be here with y'all. Um, I am in California, or not in California. I'm in Washington here with my family. Got in late last night. Had some travel delays, but everything worked out. So glad to be here with everybody. Thanks for those of you who continuously join and show up and are a part of this process with me. I really enjoy giving you guys feedback. I have a couple of wins, I would say. I have two athletes that I'm currently working with who are 2026 graduates, so they are heading into their senior years. Both of them, not even intentionally had injuries, and have both been cleared to play. One had an injury in the fall and is now able to play their high school season and is now full swing into summer. And another one basically was out for the high school season and just got cleared to start playing, and she's at her first tournament in camp this weekend. And so one of my athletes, one of their major schools is Fullerton College or University of or Cal State Fullerton. And we're in the works right now of having communication with them, and I've only been working with her for a week, so that's pretty awesome. And then my other young lady received a first offer. No, my other young lady is heading into a camp this weekend and is now has all of the information. She sent her emails to them and has kind of like an identity of the three things that she believes are her strengths and is excited to see her go out there and do her thing. So super excited. So I haven't, as always, or not always, but I have not received any questions from anyone. So what I felt would be really cool to talk about today is post-tournament actions that your athlete should take. So post-tournament actions that your athlete should take. So we, in so many different ways, have discussed pre things to do going into tournaments. And so being, a week in advance, and I don't know if I actually went through this in detail, so I'm gonna give it to you now. But a week in advance of the tournament, your athletes should send an email to the coaches that are going to be at those tournaments to let them know that they're going to be there, right? And then once they get their schedule, which is usually like the Tuesday leading up to it, they also just send a follow-up email to those coaches with their actual schedule. So like these are two things that definitely should be done beforehand. Okay, what also should be done beforehand is hopefully that isn't the first time that they've made any sort of communication with those coaches. So they should have like their summer schedule. But if they don't, they definitely need to give them their entire summer schedule. Now, I think everything that I'm going to talk about today is going to relate back to a concept I'm going to talk about at the end, which is how do I get their attention and how do I keep their attention, right? So that's going to be sort of the theme of today, so that everybody should have that sort of schedule with the school schedule. I mean, the tournament schedule that they have should all be included. Now, the other thing that I think most athletes need to have that don't have them usually is they need to have their own individual player profile. This is like their resume. It's like their profile that coaches get to have in their hands that allows the coach to have information on your athlete specifically. There are too many times where I show up to camps and your athlete is a pickup player for that team, or they don't have a shot of your daughter, so they don't include her on the profile sheet, or they kind of just threw her on there last minute, and it's unfair. And oftentimes it's happened a lot where I've looked at an athlete and I'm like, who is that athlete? And I go to their profile sheet and she's not on there or her information is not correct on there. So, yes, we want your team to have a main one. I think that's still very important. And I liked what one team did this weekend is they had a team one and they had a QR code that took us to all the individual ones. I thought that was pretty cool. That was the team taking initiative on that. But even as the individual athlete, that athlete should still have a few copies of their own individual athlete profile. So that needs to be something that your athlete has in this process. So let's just make sure that your athlete has that as they move forward. And in my program, we talk about how to create that as well. So we actually walk through that process together. And I'll actually give you guys an example of one in a little bit. So you guys have an idea. But next, what also needs to happen is now that we've got into the tournament, they're playing now, they're having a good time. I would always recommend having a question or two that they can ask the coach if they get an opportunity to interact with them. And I think it should be led based on the athlete's strengths. And I'll give an example of that in just a minute. And I think it should be led by the athlete's strengths, and then it should include how that is important to that particular program. This is how you evaluate if that program is actually interested in your athlete. So we'll talk about that in 1 second. But now let's move on to after the tournament. So what I've been noticing a lot lately is number one, athletes don't have their player profile. And so I always say if you're going to a camp or you went to a tournament, you don't have your individual profile, like don't be that athlete because you are the athlete that's going to be easily forgotten. Even if there are a ton of other athletes that are given their profiles, at least the coach has it as a reference point moving forward. And then I say after the camp or tournament's over, you should be also sending them an email response back saying thank you for coming out and thanks for watching my team. And we had a really good time. Here's our update. Here's some video from this weekend. Okay, that's number one that you should have. I also now want to go into this concept of social media because after I leave a camp, for instance, I do have a ton of player profile sheets. What ends up happening for some athletes is I might not remember everything about that athlete, but I want to learn more. Okay, so what I would do is I'll look at the profile, say, okay, I remember this athlete, but not as much. Let me go over to, again, Twitter, Instagram, and let me see if I could find anything that speaks to me sort of remembering who this athlete is. So, an advice to, I've seen a few athletes right now that I know specifically that have kind of made this mistake, but what you post matters. Although I want you to take action and post something, what you post matters. So what I mean by that is there's a few of the athletes that I know specifically that have posted about this weekend and have posted like unfinished video clips or a video clip of them taking a bad swing or a video clip of them like catching as a catcher with no purpose behind it, like they're not throwing anybody out or anything. And so, like, if you're posting just to post, but it's not intentional to helping you get recruited, don't post it, right? I think the better thing you can do is find better clips that you can use where you are throwing down, where you are communicating with your teammates. Give me something like that, even if you don't feel like you produced a lot in the game. Find other things to show besides like a miss swing or a no swing or getting in the box. I've seen quite a few of these lately, so that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up because I think it's something that you have to understand. If I go to your page and I'm looking at your video and the first video I see is of you swinging and missing, it immediately is a turnoff, and I just kind of turn off your profile. And I know a lot of coaches will do the same. You got 3 seconds to catch our attention. So, what are you doing in the 3 seconds to get the coach's attention? So, if you're swinging and missing, or you're catching a ball that you're a catcher catching a ball, but you're not doing anything with it, it's not giving us any insight into why we'd want to recruit you. I think the same is true about still videos. I love that parents or friends of the team take pictures. Like photography is awesome. But if I look on your main thread and all I see is still pictures, again, it's not giving me anything to evaluate as a recruiter who was evaluating skill, if that makes sense. So everything that you're posting has to have intention. Yes, I don't want you not to post, but I want you to post with intention. What is this going to say about me and my skill? Okay. And I have one more sort of thought on this when it comes to social media and after tournaments. So I was looking at an athlete, and I'm not the main decision maker in my coaching staff, although like I am one of the main recruiters. I still have to have conversations with my other coaches about this athlete to see if they're a really good fit and they all feel the same way about this athlete to kind of have further conversations. So I was looking at this athlete and she really amazed me with her base running speed. And so that was one thing that I knew was her strength, and I think she knew was her strength too. So, my first question to her is, where can I find more film? Because I need to now send your film to the coaches that I need to share this video film with the coaches so that they can also evaluate what they think about her as an athlete. Makes sense? So she gives me two things. One is field level and one is Twitter. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have field level, so I don't know how to go on there. I don't have sports recruits, so I don't know how to go on there. But I do have Twitter. So I go over to Twitter, and the first three or four posts was, well, the first post was a video compilation of her high school season. And it wasn't even of her, it was of her team. So like that was sort of interesting to start with. So like, okay, I can't share them that. So I can't just share her immediate main page because it's the first thing you see is not giving what I needed to give in order for the coach to in order for the other coaches to see whatever I see, like if they're willing to scroll past that. So I'm having to scroll down more into her video. And then I do see her taking some swings. And so that was good too. But like what I really wanted to demonstrate to the coaches was her speed and how she was able to get the ball down and run, how she was able to hit the ball in the gap and get doubles and triples. So I was able, because I just know that this is how this works, to scroll until I found this type of video. And so then what I did was specifically send the link to those particular posts to our coaches. Now, a lot of people won't go through this trouble. And this is what I really want you to understand about social media. It is literally the thing that is a reference for evaluation. Whatever you're posting on there on social media is the reference to how we like share your information to our coaches, how we speak on like really fighting for you as a player. It's a really big deal. So keeping that updated, ensuring that that is something that you are updating and what they're posting on their videos makes like matches that is really, really important. So easily I kind of got this interest in that athlete for a little bit, but I was like, no, I really want them to see her speed. So I did go back and look for it and I finally shared it. But after looking at scrolling three to four times and not seeing anything, it could have been a situation where really I was no longer interested in an athlete. So it's interesting how this works, and it's kind of a cruel thing to think about sometimes, but really that is how it works. Like if I can find an athlete that understands what her strengths are and demonstrates that immediately in everything she posts, we're on the good track. So um what I want to do, so that's really important, okay? And so I want to basically let's see, go with one more thing here and then I'll get you guys out of here. Um all right. So I wanted to show you guys an example of one of the athletes that I work with um, now in our 360 Elite program, where I help athletes navigate how to have unstoppable mindsets, how to become more recruitable athletes by getting more scholarship opportunities, and then also helping them figure out what their elite level skills are. In this process, we're working through a lot of things, and so this athlete has been really great at following instructions and directions so far. And I wanted to share with you guys a profile that her and her mom were able to put together for her as they head into their first tournament again from injury. And I just think it's a really good profile. So I wanted to kind of share with everybody. So when it comes to player profiles, what was really interesting this weekend is I got a young lady who gave me a player profile that was 3 pages long, and I was just like, "What is this?" And it had no pictures, no color, no ink, and so I was like, "Hey, I just want to give you advice. Like, if I was pulling this back out of my backpack later, I would have no idea who this belongs to. So like put your picture on there, right? Make it maybe colorful, make it one page. So I just kind of was giving her advice on that. So I want to kind of show you another example of one that I thought is really, really well done that we've been working on. But a couple key things here is the name needs to be really big, picture needs to be big, so I can acute I can correlate name to picture, right? And then what we're also talking about with this athlete is speed is her thing, and so what position she plays. But then we're also breaking down what her speed is home to first because we really want that to be a key thing that they know. about her. And then she has a really high GPA. So we also want to know about that as well within the first key parts of the profile. So very good job there. Then she has her actual summer schedule on here. So she did a very good job with that. Then she has her accolades that she has been able to accomplish over the last 3 years of her high school career. And then she has her contact information, her coach's contact information, and then certain skills that she wants coaches to know as highlights for her. And then she has a link that takes people to the different links like her YouTube channel, her Instagram, her or not Instagram, her Twitter, and things like that. So this is a very great example. So I wanted to guys show you what this looks like, and so that you have an idea of how to navigate this process. So again, because she's speed, after I went through this weekend, it became clear to me that I want to make sure for her that I'm gonna stop sharing. I want to make sure for her that what her social media shows it correlates to what we're trying to display. So now on her social media, what she should be doing today is uploading a video of her home to first and videos of her first to third with the pop-up slide so we can see how the speed accelerates over time. So we're going to make those the main videos in the beginning of her Twitter as she's growing Twitter, and then as she gets more film from this weekend and weekends to come, she'll add more things. But really, we're really playing on this idea of being able to get the ball down and get to a base, being able to hit in the gap and get doubles and triples. So anytime that she has video on that, that's the stuff that she's going to be posting in her Twitter. So I hope that makes sense to y'all as we're talking through, exactly what we're trying to look for and create within that sort of space. So, yeah, with that, that's kind of mostly what I have. I just want to make sure, like after tournaments, that they're doing the things that are necessary. So a follow up thank you email would be also very important. So again, athletes in my program, I help them create their emails going into the tournament, specializing it to them and their skills. And then when they're done, we have post-tournament emails as well. So this is just something that we're just building and growing. I'm super excited for this group and what they're getting ready to accomplish. One of my athletes, like I said, did get an offer today, which is pretty cool after only working with me for 1 week. So that's awesome. So anyway, that's all I got for y'all today. If anyone has any questions, let me know. If not, I am going to go enjoy family and watch TV and hang out for a little bit. Oh, I do got some questions. Let me see. I missed all these questions. Do we tie schools? Thank you so much for asking this question, Antonio, because one of my athletes had this very good question as well. No. That's the short answer. Here's what I would say to you. If your athlete has not had any communication with this coach before, um, do not tag them on their social media. What I would do instead is, if it's possible to direct message them, I would direct message them the link to the video that you just posted. So I would do that, and then I would also just send it to them in an email, right? And of course, like with certain athletes, like especially your athlete, she's not necessarily able to get responses from coaches, but I think in the beginning, no, but that just makes you look like you're trying to go after everything and one coach doesn't feel special because you're tagging 1,000 schools on your post, right? But I would say if you've had conversations, if you know that there's some interest there, you want to let the coach know that you posted something, definitely tag them because you've had initial communication with them. But if you haven't, let's start with emails and tag the video to send to the coach. Other question, random. Let's say athletes had poor performance, not a good day when recruiters was present, went out of their way to watch, evaluate. What's the best way to address follow-up? Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for this, that's a really good question, is, and I think it's also helpful for the athlete for this too, is um, we recognize as coaches that athletes are not always going to be at their best. And I think as an athlete, and a parent of an athlete, we have to also help our athletes understand that we understand that. So we're not going to simply evaluate you off of one opportunity, but what I would say is if it's kind of a new relationship, again, where are you guys at in communicating with that coach? Like that coach might not even been there looking for your athlete, so there's kind of some nuances to that. But I would say simple. That's where you use your social media. That's where you use email to reaffirm some of your skill that you already have. So, again, a lot goes into that. If the school came out to watch her, she didn't do well, send the emails like, "Hey, coach, thank you so much for coming out. This weekend didn't go as planned, but one thing that we're working on to sort of work through this is, I'm getting with my hitting coach. We're talking through, some of my swings. I've been watching my film. I realized that I was not sticking to my plan, or I realized I was chasing pitches that were out of the zone. And so what I'm working on now is being better at that. And I promise you that, and I'll show you as the summer progresses how I'm getting better at that skill. So call it out, actually know what you're looking for and what maybe went wrong, and give them that feedback, and then say, hey, over the summer, I'll be sharing with you how I've been improving in this thing. I think that takes ownership, that shows maturity, that shows game IQ. And I think that also shows that you have something to work towards. And then if they can see the progress from that, I think that could be really good. So hopefully, Kimberly, that I answered that question okay for you. But yeah, any other questions before we jump out of here? Great questions. Awesome. I super appreciate y'all time for being here. Again, I'm gonna go hang out. Why do you give us these golden nuggets for free? You know, it's a really great question. No, I think here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm a information person. Like that's how my brain works in general. And so, um, information is very, very good, but information without implementation is very, very bad. And so for me, it's like I'm happy to give you the information, and I have programs to help people like lose less time implementing these things, right? And so really it's on you all if that's something that you want to do, or if you want to keep going through it step by step and taking longer of a process to figure it out, because you have all the information. So information can be crippling. It also can be very empowering as long as you know how to implement it. And so, you can continuously take the time to figure it out over time. I'm happy to give you the information. But if you want the implementation part, I also want you to know that I do that as well. And so that's why I do this is, hey, like, let me give you the information, and eventually maybe one day you might feel like you need help with the implementation part, and then you'll reach out. And if not, then the information's always great. And I want you to succeed. I want your daughters to succeed. If you notice all of my hats, most of my hats, they say her. And so my business, when I first started, was called Lead Her Ship Athletics. And the whole dynamic about it was to help female athletes own their power in the world and help them lead their own journey and own ships, right? Because they're destined for greatness no matter what. And so for me, when I do this work, it's to help me realize that this is not about me, but it's about your athletes, right? And their success, not just in the game, but also in life. And so why I wear the her on my hat, why I have it tattooed on my arm, is because I want it to always be about her. And so that's why I do this work. So if you never knew that about me, that's what that is. Now my business is 360 Athlete, but that's where it all started about 5 years ago during COVID. So just been doing this work all this time. So I appreciate y'all. I'll let you go. Gonna go hang out with the family. But we'll talk soon, y'all. Peace.